webinar today is about job hunting using AI. If you're familiar with AI, or if you're not familiar with AI, that's okay. This is a really good beginner way to get started on using AI. All right, so I want to introduce myself. My name is Veronica Nargi, and I am a learning experience design librarian here at UMA. I work out of Kate's library, and I'm very passionate about AI. And here's my contact information if you ever want to meet or talk, or you have any lingering questions about this presentation. I would love to answer them for you. And I will also be emailing you the slides from this presentation as well as the recording. So look out for that after the presentation. All right. So here's a sneak peek of our agenda today. First, we will quickly go over some definitions of terms I'll be using in this presentation. We'll go over some recommendations on how to best use AI, and then we'll use some different ways. We'll go over some different ways you can actually use the AI. And then finally, we'll get into one of the AI tools and see if we can practice a little with some of the prompts that we've learned today. So here are some quick definitions, just so you know what I'm talking about when I speak about these different terms. If I use the term AI, I mean AI or Gen AI. This kind of AI uses large language models to generate different forms of media like text, code, video, images, etc. And if I use the term prompt engineering or prompt writing, I'm talking about the art of writing a prompt into generative AI. We're not going to delve too deeply into sort of those techniques, but if you want to know more, I can provide resources or we can discuss that later. I'm actually giving another webinar tomorrow on writing AI, so I can definitely email that as well, the registration for that, and it's for everybody. Anyone can attend. Yeah, and I also want to say before we move further into this presentation, if anyone has any questions, my screen is a little bit small, so I'm not really monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand. I don't mind being interrupted. That's totally fine. I can usually see the hand raising a little bit better. So feel free, it's very casual if you have any immediate questions. All right. So let's go over some do's and don'ts when it comes to using AI. I always like to preface this when talking about AI. So first do be open-minded. If you are skeptical about using AI, good, you should be. Healthy skepticism is, an essential part of media literacy. So be still, you can still be open-minded and just look at these as different, possibilities and different, tools at your disposal. Number 2 and 3 go hand in hand. Remember to fact check the information you're getting from AI. It can sometimes be hallucinated to fill in sort of the gaps. It lacks information. And when it does that, it will do it very convincingly. So I don't know if you've ever read one of those like AI summaries, like you Google something and it gives you an AI summary and you're looking at it and you're like, wait, I know that's not right at all. That's because sometimes it hallucinates the answer, or pieces together the most logical and pieces together bits of information in like the most logical and convincing way. So remember to always consume information with caution. If you're sort of getting any red flags, like do some fact check. And then also remember that AI is no substitute for human review. Always review your outputs yourself. Make sure it lines up with your beliefs and your voice, and edit it so it sounds like you. And, you know, if you can get human feedback on something, definitely do that. You know, but A is a nice way to sort of, you know, get some creative feedback, you know, on the fly. Now, for some don'ts, like I said before, do not accept everything as fact, and do not use the outputs without review and editing. Do not input any personal information, especially any information that you don't want to be data mined. You know, we don't, every AI tool has different rules on, you know, different terms of agreements. So I just say as a rule of thumb, don't put any inputs or sensitive or personal information that you, like I said, you don't want to be data mined. All right, so moving on, I'm going to talk about some ways that we can use AI, some practical ways. So I'm going to go and we're going to talk about ways we can use generative AI in your job searches. Now, again, when I say generative AI, I mean something like ChatGPT or Gemini, you know, Claude is another really popular one. So you can use these sort of like chat tools in your research, in your job hunting. There are other tools you can use for very specific things. Like I know Grammarly has like a cover letter writing tool, and that uses AI. So there's always going to be more and more tools rolling out. I'm just talking about the very basic, you know, chat style, you know, generative AI. You know, I feel like this presentation really just scratches the surface because there are just like so many things you can do. So that being said, the best place to start when there's a lot to be done is always the beginning, and the job search begins with a little bit of research. So you're planning and searching phase, you're in the planning and searching phase of your job hunt. So as we all know, the internet is a little bit of a scary and confusing place, and the job market is even more so. You know, there's so many reports of just, you know, like phantom postings, and, you know, it's very uncertain right now, just the job market in general. So having a good game plan and being informed on the current state of your career path is always a really good way to guide your way. I particularly like using AI to help find alternative job titles, maybe suggest a new career path or, you know, a career, you know, path adjacent to the one you're currently in. You know, it can help you come up with a game plan if you're just starting your job hunt. And it can help you, you know, strategize your education plan moving forward. You know, if you're let's just say you are a sophomore, you know, you're not really close to graduating, but you're still thinking about what classes can I take that can give me a competitive, you know, professional edge in, you know, whatever career path I'm planning on entering. All right, so some examples of what some of these prompts could look like. I really like this one. This is one of my favorite ones, is having an aptitude test. So like I said, maybe you're a sophomore, you know, first year, and you're still exploring different fields, different skill sets. I think this is great for those who want to try something alternative to their obvious career path. You know, you don't have to be a sophomore or first year. Maybe you're about to graduate and you're not sure if like the career path that, you know, is obvious for you is the right one. You know, your education is very valuable no matter, you know, what you do. So for example, you know, I was an English major for my undergrad, and I really had no idea what I wanted to do after I graduated. It's not very cut and dry, being an English major, you know, so it was like, should I be a teacher? Should I be a journalist, an editor? You know, there's so many different career paths, and it was very scary. And, you know, turns out, you know, through various experiences, I chose to be a librarian. And, you know, I thought it combined all the things that I loved about my major, you know, which was like language, problem solving, critical thinking skills. That being said, I would have loved to have AI help me explore those different possibilities of ways I could use the skills that I have and the passions that I have and, guide me towards different career paths. So another really good one is keyword searches. I think this goes hand in hand with the aptitude test. So I remember I had a mentor and she told me that I would be great at being a taxonomist. And I was like, what? What's a taxonomist? I had never heard of that job, but as I researched it more and I found out it was very closely related to library and information science, it made more sense why she said that. But I had no idea what a taxonomist was. I had never heard of that. So, using AI to come up with, alternative keyword searches for different job titles that, might incorporate like the same responsibilities of, sort of a generic job title. Writing a prompt that includes your field, your interests, can help you find other job titles that might fit your strengths. Maybe you're not even close to graduating, or you're looking to continue some sort of postgraduate education. You can ask for guidance on what sort of skills you should be building while you're in school. And it's a great way to plan ahead for your future career. Think of it sort of like a course advisor, like an academic advisor. You could use AI in that sense. You can also use AI to do some industry research. I would have a little asterisk and say, make sure to do some fact checking for this kind of prompt. It's a good way to plan for your future, stay ahead of any industry updates, depending on the AI model you use, it could be really accurate, help you plan for your career path and as it evolves and, maybe the next 5 years, 10 years, and use that information to sort of like buff up your portfolio and skills. All right. So another way you can use AI is you can use it to help with your application materials. So this is probably the most obvious use of AI. You can use it to improve your resume wording, edit your cover letter, use it for portfolio or social media optimization. You can use it to identify, strengths or weaknesses in your application packages, use it to give you like a competitive edge, like, identify those strengths that give you a competitive edge, and maybe like identify weaknesses where, maybe you need to, study up more on a certain skill in order to be the best candidate. So just another word of caution is please, like when you use AI for like editing or wording or writing, please make sure you edit whatever the output is, revise your outputs, make sure it's your voice, because when you're in an interview, you do not want to sound completely off from your resume and your cover letter. Definitely like make sure it's not hallucinating things that you've never done before, all of those things. So just be careful. So some examples here, your resume is one of the probably the most important application documents. It's your first impression, and you want it to look great. So you also want to optimize your resume for automatic resume readers. These are really popular in like bigger companies. They basically feed your resume through a reader, and it might spit you out, and nobody's actually like even looking at your resume. So making sure that it's optimized for the resume readers, and making sure your wording is effective, it's accurate. And you only have so much room in a resume to show that you're the best candidate for the job. So you really have to use that space effectively. Cover letter is another great place to do this kind of editing and use of AI. Like you might want to use AI to, for example, incorporate the wording of a job posting in your cover letter as it relates to your experience. Or if your cover letter is like too long or not long enough, you can edit your content to communicate your words more effectively and professionally. You can even feed AI like key experiences you feel like would relate to this job, to ensure those experiences are like integrated into that cover letter. I know for me, I struggle a lot with writing the cover letter, and it is by far my least favorite part of any application. It's so tedious. I honestly wish they would get rid of that tradition altogether, but it's there, and I'm sure it's an important part of the application process as well. But you want to make sure. I can't tell you how many times people have told me, they have wanted to interview me just based on my cover letter. So it is important, so. So you can use AI to help you build your professional portfolio, and to share with a potential employer. Use this AI to create a really professional looking portfolio. Use it to generate ideas for content that might be relevant to your job prospects. And like I mentioned before, a really relevant issue with any new graduate is discovering strengths and places where you can use more expertise. So, this can be like this can be helpful if you are trying to get into a profession where you have little experience, or maybe you're trying to pivot careers and you're looking for entry-level positions, and you're also trying to be competitive. Generative AI might be able to help you identify skills you can bring to a position that can give you a competitive edge over other applicants. I know for me, that was always like a challenge, is finding things I was good at. And I would need sometimes I'd get like a letter of recommendation, and I just thought, this person has said all these like nice things about me and I didn't even think about it, So, using AI to help you, explore those strengths that, you can leverage in an interview or in an application. All right. So, congratulations. You've landed an interview. But interviews are really scary. But if you're not, we have some AI to help us with the interview process and beyond the interview process. So, you can use AI for mock interviews. You can generate skill tests, like if somebody asks you to demonstrate a certain skill as a part of the interview. It can help you generate questions to ask an interviewer. It can optimize. You can use it to optimize your email communications with hiring staff or recruiters, and help you with some tough decision making if you were to, get an interview or get a job offer. So some examples, as I said before, the interview is probably the most nerve-wracking part. Use AI to practice in a mock interview and have it give you feedback. Some companies even give you questions ahead of time, which is awesome if they do, because then you can work off of those questions. Lots of interviewers use different question styles, like situational or behavioral type style questions. So you might want to feed into the AI that you want to be asked a variety of questions, types of questions. For example, like I have a very terrible memory. So whenever people ask me those behavioral situational questions, which usually start with like, tell me about a time when this problem happened and what did you do to solve it. Like, I hate those questions because the moment they're asked, my mind goes blank. So work with the generative AI and come up with some common questions, so that you have some scenarios ready to go. I literally in interviews, I'll write down scenarios for different like problems that I've encountered in my career, because I can never remember it. You're so nervous, during an interview. So, But, you know, speaking of questions, something hiring managers really love, because it shows that you're an interested candidate, is they love it when you have questions for them. So asking questions during an interview shows that you are engaged and interested in the company. But, you know, sometimes you freeze up. Again, very nerve-wracking interviews, at least for me. And you're like, oh, nope, I don't have any questions. So you can use some AI to help you come up with some engaging questions that you can write down before the interview. And you know, these questions will probably wow your interviewer, and also give you some good information about the company you're interviewing with. Communications are another really big part of the interview process, you know, sort of behind the scenes emailing, and you know, phone conversations. So use AI to maybe help you edit your emails to potential employers, you know, to some, you know, more professional, help you communicate, you know, difficult things to talk about like salaries or benefits. I know that's always sometimes an uncomfortable conversation when you're sort of in this interview process. And decision making. So, you know, let's just say you get an offer, and, you know, this is a big decision. And, you know, not every job is going to be an immediate, yes, dream job, I'm going to take it. So, you know, even if it was, big decisions, you know, deserve a lot of consideration. And, you know, you can use the AI to sort of work through a big decision and make sure it's the right decision for you. All right, so here are some quick tips for writing prompts. Number one by far is details and more details. The more details you give the AI, the better your output will be. You know, if you want, let's just say you use AI to help you with a part of your resume where you, you know, talk about a job experience, right? And you just say, hey, I was an office manager at this job, you know, write a description of what I did. Well, it's not going to know what you did. It might know in general what an office manager does, but it's not going to know what you did specifically. So the more details you can get it, the better response you're going to have. Number two, be authentic. When it comes to writing your prompts, use your own voice. Think of it like you're talking to a chatbot or a virtual assistant. You don't need to be formal with generative AI unless you're practicing your mock interview, then maybe yes. And number three, if your first prompt doesn't bring you the desired output, don't feel discouraged. You know, edit your prompt, try again. You probably have to revisit number one, the first one, give it more details. You can also assign roles to the AI, like giving it, like, you know, telling it it's a recruiter or a hiring manager. That can also give you some better prompts or some better output. If you guys are comfortable, I would love to maybe workshop one of these prompts that we went over. Are there any, Alina or Jane, were there any prompts that you really caught your eye and you're like, oh, I want to see that in action, that prompt? I can go through some of our prompt pages. So we have aptitude test, keyword search, industry research. Got this one. I also have some sample. We don't have to do it, you know, using you as an example. We can just make up stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, some of the prompts are like, I mean, you're doing research. You're doing research, you know, like just to like, I mean, depending on where you are in your career, you know, if you want to find out more about a particular job title and how that fits in with what you're trying to do, you know, that seems like really valuable.
Oops. Hold on. Let me. Yeah, oops, what did I do? I like this one, the keyword search. So I'm going to, let's try this one.
Okay, I have to do a class, so I have to leave in about 10 minutes, so, or
okay,
about quarter of, I have to go.
that is okay. I'm gonna log in. Elena, were there any that you thought were interesting, the job postings or the prompts?
The one that you're actually just copied now is actually one of the ones I was interested in.
Great. All right, so we can do so again, this is one of those things where it's like, you know, details matter. So like if I were to use this prompt, I made them shorter for the presentation, but I would actually, if I was writing it, I'd you know, make it a lot more detailed. So I would say I am a senior at university. Oops. Researching careers in should we make up something, or I don't know. Alina, did you want to you know, use some personal examples, or I can just make up
Sure.
something. I don't
Yeah,
in a weird position.
I'm actually looking for a job in the legal field. I'm looking for a paralegal job, but I'm trying to figure out ways to expand on that job title. So, like, I'm also interested. I'm also a research assistant right now. So, I don't know if that encompasses other things in the legal system or whatnot.
Like paralegal work or legal research. Similar to and then, you know, another way you could probably improve this prompt is you could say, you know, what your major is going to be. Maybe if you have any additional qualifications, you know, or any additional degrees. So I might say I will have an a oh I don't know. I don't know much
I'll
about this. Maybe you can help me out, Elena.
Sure. I have my associate's degree in justice studies, and I also have my paralegal certificate. And next year, I will have a bachelor's degree in justice studies with a pre-law concentration.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, no, that's a
That's great. Like these are like the details I'm talking about. Um and a paralegal certificate, you said?
yeah.
And I will be graduating with a bachelor's in what was it?
Justice studies with a pre-law concentration.
Concentration. Okay, this is great. We've added so many details. So I think this is a really, you know, a good place to start. So let's see what it gives us. Thank you, Elena, for volunteering
Thank
some
you.
of your information. So it's exciting. All right, so paralegal oriented careers. These roles build directly on your certificate. So these are good things to like put in search engines, right? Like your keywords. So, and I found this is very helpful because there's so many job titles out there like that aren't, you know, the very, I think, typical, like it's maybe not going to say paralegal, but it's going to use a lot of those skills, right? So it's really helpful for like finding those keywords. So litigation support specialist, legal compliance specialist, analyst, court. All right, public sector. So this is cool. It's giving you like different like areas, not just different keywords. It's giving some alternative. You're considering law school for the future. That's pretty great too. So like maybe, you know, you want to pursue a career that will help you, you know, if you're like, I'm gonna, you know, work in this field for a little bit, but I plan on going to law school later, right? You know, so that's another thing. You could, wow, it's given us some resources for job searching. It can give us a comparison of jobs by salary or job outlook. That's really helpful. I didn't even, you know, I didn't even think about that. You know,
That's
Really?
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's so
Yeah,
detailed. I had no idea like use AI for this way. So this is awesome. Thank you.
yeah, and you know, I think that that's to me that's one of the hardest things is searching, because it's just there's so much out there, and you know, especially as somebody, you know, you maybe have a new degree or if you're new to the field or even if you're not new to the field, right? You know, finding out like different opportunities that are under different titles, that maybe you just didn't think of, like, you know, when my um mentor said like, hey, you'd be a great taxonomist. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a job, you know? So now if I wanted to, you know, I could look up jobs like taxonomy jobs, right? Like I didn't even know that was a thing that people did, right? So you know, it helps you learn more about your field, especially things that like may not be as like obvious, right? So I really, yeah, I like that kind of prompt. I think the aptitude test prompt is really good too. But let me see. Were there any other ones that you guys wanted to explore? Or
I have to go. So thank you so much for this, and I'll look forward to maybe tomorrow. We'll see what
yeah,
happens. Okay, thank you. I have to go.
yeah. Um, yeah, the interview prep is great. I like this one, the interview questions. So let's try that one. Let's do a claims adjuster. You know, another thing you could put, Alina, is, you know, if you had, like any specific fields you wanted to go in, you know, you could definitely add that to this prompt up here. You know, or if it's like you're more like you're open-minded, like not open-minded, but like you're open to, you know, you're not looking for anything specific, you know, you're just looking to explore, you know, keep it vague. All right, I have an interview. What sort of questions? At an insurance company. Oh my goodness. It's organizing it by theme. I didn't even ask it to do that. um,
Wow, this is amazing how much it covers. I'm thinking of past interviews where this would have been very, very handy.
yeah, right. You know, I look at that and I just think, boy, if I ever, you know, like do this, like these are the things I always struggle with because, you know, they don't want to hear questions like, you know, what's the salary or like what the benefit is. Especially like not in a first interview. Like that's always like a red flag, even though those are probably the things you want to know the most. But these are very helpful with like finding out other really key things. Like, you know, I always say an interview is two ways. Because yes, they're interviewing you to make sure that you're a good fit for the company, you know, but you're also interviewing them to make sure that they're a good fit for you, you know? So it's good, like definitely take advantage of times when they ask, hey, do you have any questions about anything, you know? So yeah, definitely like all of those things can help you be more informed. So if you do get you know, a job offer, like you're like, okay, now I know how they run things at this company. You know, so that can definitely be helpful. Alina, do you have any others that you'd like to?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but now I'm definitely going to be using this as more of a resource than I had been. Been kind of skeptical of AI for, but I'm realizing just like you said, everyone else is using it, so it's kind of a disadvantage to not use it to my advantage in a way.
You know, this is a good way, it's a good beginner thing, you know, to use. Like if you're not sure how to use it, you know, this is a good way to practice, you know, like, you know, putting in more details. Like that's a huge part of writing the prompts is like making sure you have the details right and the output right. You know, so I have some additional resources on this slide. So